Howdy, boys and girls, and welcome back to Week 10 of your college football season, and coincidentally, Week 10 of the Carla and Crappy Show. Hi, Carla. How you doing?
Not too bad. Well, okay, Week 10 minus 2 or something, right?
We're dealing with the actual linear schedule here, and not the fact that we took a couple weeks off. You're looking very Pittsburghy today.
I know it's not intentional, really. I don't know. Was feeling the black and yellow today. Missing the Pittsburgh love. You guys are like doing pod camp soon, and I'm sad that
pod camp is coming up in about a month. The Penguins scored, I think, 37 or 38 goals last night to beat the Devils in a comeback win. So, good stuff there.
And I'm devastated I didn't go on Saturday night.
I saw that, but being an adult,
school stuff gets in the way. It happens. There are things called papers, and sometimes you have to grade them. And unfortunately, Saturday night. Well, it worked out well though, because then I got to see. I was flipping back and forth then between the Pens game, and of course the 3 goal scorers at the Pens here in Nashville were Crosby, Malkin, and Dupuis. Of course, the game I skip. And
that's how that's going to work.
The double end of the Pen zone, like really, and they only scored their goals in the first and third periods. Really, I was really mad I wasn't there.
Did grading papers keep you away from watching Ohio State, Penn State on Saturday night?
It did. Well, I didn't really dive in until after halftime because I was watching the hockey game while I was grading papers, and then once that game was over, I flipped over to the Penn State game. I was flipping over during commercial breaks, but at that point. In the first half, you guys had the game in control.
Yes.
Ohio State had the game under control in the first half, and so I wasn't really all that concerned about it. I flipped over in the second half, and I may have audibly screamed when Penn State tied the game up. It was actually quite funny. I was texting with David at the time, and I was like, my neighbors may have just heard me scream.
You would not have been alone.
I have that hunch.
That was as good a game as I've seen a person in a while, and definitely uncomfortable. Although we had perfect seats to see Joey Bosa bury whichever Penn State running back that was, and crush Hackenberg on the final play of the game. But man, that was a spectacular game. Penn State's defense is for real. And again, I'm sort of doubting. Had we talked about this the week before, I would have said I would have liked kind of Ohio State's chances if win convincingly, maybe sneaking into one of the 4 spots at the end of the season. Now I'm thinking no, we're not. Ohio State's not close. Pass defense is a problem, obviously. Playing a solid defense posed enough problems that we saw on Saturday. Ohio State may still be a season away, and that's okay. We're still gonna have fun this year.
Well, and the committee wasn't all that kind to you either.
No.
Last night.
And I can't. I mean and we did talk about this. The loss to Virginia Tech looks worse every week. And is there anything you can do about that?
But there's a team that we're going to talk about later today that may actually have a worse loss than your Buckeyes.
This is the surprise game that we're.
No. This is a game. This is a game that we're actually really talking about.
Oh yes. Okay. Speaking of games, we're going to be talking about, guys. If you are going to be in front of a television on Saturday afternoon, for crying out loud, turn on TCU at West Virginia, because I'm not sure that there's going to be a more entertaining game for the entire season. TCU number 7 at West Virginia number 20. TCU is a 5-point favorite. The more important number here, the over/under number is 74. And Carly, you got to take the over, right?
Absolutely. One team is going to score 74. Are you kidding? Good grief! Really, the OU is 74.
Yes.
Morgantown?
Yes. That seems like a no-brainer to me.
Gosh, if you're a gambling person, and I'm not endorsing that kind of stuff. I'm not condoning it, but God, take the over. There, we just found our show title for this week. God, take the over.
Right? Yes. Yeah. There it is.
No.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later.
See you next week. Yeah. No. And you say that this is on the afternoon, right? So here's the nice thing about this game. It's probably going to be on for 5 hours.
Probably.
Right, because the amount of scoring that's happening during this game. I mean, the game's going to be on for 5 hours in the afternoon. Both of these teams, I think we talked about both of these teams in the last couple of weeks. TCU's wins have been impressive, and really, if you look at it, TCU's really only played one bad quarter all season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fourth quarter against Baylor was kind of their meltdown moment, and they really haven't had any significant holes in the rest of their season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and West Virginia's losses, I mentioned this last week when we were talking about them playing Oklahoma State, that their losses came against, at the time, top 10 opponents in West Virginia and Oklahoma. And since then, they've looked good. Gosh, I mean, you sent me the list of the 3 games we were going to talk about today, and 2 out of the 3, actually all 3 of them, I don't know who to pick. Because it's just, I have to, you know, TCU I think is probably the better team here, but there's a lot to be said. You found this out on Saturday night. There's a lot to be said for playing at home, and West Virginia is playing at home.
Yes.
And that crowd's going to be fired up.
They may be burning couches inside of Mountaineer Field.
They might. They'll figure out a way to.
It's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be dark by the time they finish the game. It's gonna be cold, so you know, they might need them.
Yeah, fires are good, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Gosh, I really want to pick West Virginia in this game,
mm-hmm.
just because, like you said, it'll eventually be, you know, it'll be dark by the end of the game.
Yeah.
That atmosphere in Morgantown is in a hyped up game like this. That's gonna be tough to beat. TCU better be ready.
Okay.
And we've proven that, and TCU has proven that they can melt down in critical moments, because mm-hmm. that's what happened against Baylor. They had that game in control and just melted down in the fourth quarter and gave up 21 unanswered or something like that to lose that game in remarkable fashion. We might see something similar to that. So I'm gonna go gut and say West Virginia. But I think TCU is the better team. But I think West Virginia actually is going to play the momentum at home. If any team plays the momentum at home better than anybody, there are 2 teams. LSU, we'll talk about them in a minute, and West Virginia.
Okay.
So,
Baylor is a better team than West Virginia, and we saw what happened when they went into Morgantown just a couple weeks ago. To go with my gut here, I'm going to come to the same conclusion that you do. 2 unbelievable offenses, but in this case, trick it to Kevin White. Trick it to Kevin White.
Pat White's been gone.
If you put Pat White on that offense, that would be that would be spectacular, actually. I am going to be staying in a parking lot outside of Ohio Stadium in Columbus, trying to stay warm, and I really wish I would be able to watch this game, because this is going to be so much fun. And I really see, number 1, take the over.
Yes.
Number 2, I think take West Virginia, and take them straight up. I think this is a win for the Mountaineers at home. And
they hung with Alabama.
Yeah.
You know, both of those games they lost. This
is a legit good team. They might be a little inconsistent. I'm not sure that they can play defense, although in this game, I'm not sure that's going to matter. Just score as much as you can, and we'll see what happens.
Otherwise, the one other thing I want to add is I totally had forgotten before I watched the Alabama game that Rochelle Shell is now on West Virginia's roster. And regardless of what happened with the whole Pitt situation, I know it was kind of a mess, and he got a bad rap for the way that all went down. I like the local kid. I covered him when I was working for the PA for Rivals, and I covered him. And saw him in person, was like, dude. The kid can run the football, and to see him get national attention during the Alabama game, I would love nothing more than to see him have just a whale of a game this weekend. And,
we are talking about Rochelle Shell from Beaver County, Pennsylvania,
yes.
Which and Carla and I have that common for both working at the Beaver County Times for quite a while.
Graduate of Hopewell High School.
Same high school as Tony Rossett, so there's kind of lineage there. That's a sort of important thing. Our next game, and this one, I mean, if you're talking about rankings and the tournament, the SEC West, blah 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 blah. But the de facto thing is that this is probably a play-in game. For the tournament that we're going to have at the end of the season. Number 3 Auburn at number 4 Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 2-point favorite. We have seen already this year The difference between Ole Miss at home versus Alabama and Ole Miss on the road versus LSU just a week ago. This game is, of course, in Oxford with the Grove and all of that stuff. What happens here?
Night games at the Grove, not quite as competitive as daunting as night games at Death Valley as Ole Miss learned last week. But my friends have been joking all season. My friends at Athlon have been joking all season about good bow, bad bow.
Right.
Ole Miss lives and dies by Bo Wallace, and I mean the decision at the end of the game. Now, forget the whole. At the end of the game, forget the whole. Let's try to get more yards for the field goal, because I actually don't disagree with that decision. When you've got a true freshman kicker at a 47-yarder, if you have enough time to gain 4 or 5 more yards, or if you don't have anything, just throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the logic there. There was time to do that.
Sure.
That was bad bow at his worst.
The part about throwing it away and
right. So I question where Ole Miss is heading into this game. Mm-hmm. Because that's a huge loss for them. Now, yes, they're still in the top 4 for the time being, but we can argue until we're blue in the face of which team is really better, Ole Miss or Alabama, and that's of course what everybody's talking about this week. Is Ole Miss has the head-to-head win, but who do you pick? If 9 times out of 10, who are you going to take?
Bama.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's the problem, right? Because right now. And Bama's sitting there at 6, and this is a play-in game. I saw more than one person on Facebook today posting that this is actually the first game of the college football playoff.
Right.
And it is. I've got to wonder where Ole Miss's head is. I like the fact they're playing at home. I think Auburn's a darn good football team. Right now I've got more confidence in Nick Marshall and Gus Malzahn than I do in Bo Wallace and Hugh Freeze.
Okay.
After watching the way some of that decision-making was made, Auburn's losses to a Mississippi State team that's ranked number 1 in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of let the early part of that game just kind of got away from them. They were on the road. Mississippi State was playing over their heads, just put up a lead, and then Auburn just couldn't catch them. Mm-hmm. I think the Auburn offense has the potential to overwhelm the Ole Miss defense in this game. And I think what we're going to end up seeing is it'll be a one-possession win, one way or the other. And I hate to say this, Rebels fans, but my gut is saying that Auburn, after everything that's gone down, Auburn is the better team at this point. And so I'm leaning Auburn in this game.
Okay.
When it's all said and done, I still think the Iron Bowl is going to end up being more important than the Egg Bowl. Sorry, Mississippi. I think Mississippi State. Are you
apologizing to the whole state there, or
well, pretty much, because it's Mississippi State, Ole Miss is going to be a good football game, but I think the Iron Bowl is going to end up meaning more to the playoff.
Okay.
In the long run. So I'm going to lean Auburn in this game. I think they're just right now the better team.
I am still holding out hopes for the most important Egg Bowl of all time.
Yeah.
Apparently, it would be fun, and it will be fun. I mean, it's going to be a big deal, and I think it will have significance in terms of the playoff when we get to that point. This weekend, Bo Wallace is a variable, right? Mississippi's defense is spectacular, and I think. You mentioned the possibility of Auburn's offense overwhelming Mississippi's defense. I'm not sure that's going to happen. And if I peg those things as equal and go with the assumption that Bo Wallace is going to recover a little bit this week, is going to be more comfortable at home, as he clearly was against Alabama earlier in the season. That was granted. I don't watch the SEC religiously, but that was the best I had seen Bo Wallace play. And I think we could, if we see good Bo Wallace this weekend, and I think there's a decent chance. I don't know what his hair looks like this week. Does he still have the long hair, or is it more of the Justin Bieber thing? Do we know? I don't.
I think it's growing out a little bit. I think. I don't know. I don't pay attention to hairstyles. Sorry.
He doesn't. I know it's not quite. I know it's not quite like Jay Lehman, the linebacker from Illinois from a few years ago. I'm going to post pictures of all these. I think because just because I haven't done that yet this year, and I think that would be fun. Regardless of the hair, this I think is a good Bo Wallace weekend.
Okay.
Ole Miss's defense neutralizes Auburn's offense, and Bo Wallace does what he does when he is on, and this is a win for the Rebels.
Okay.
Finally, we have. I might actually get to see the end of this game because some genius in television thought that Ohio State and Illinois should be a night game. I'm not I'm not sure where that came from.
Really?
But starting at 11 o'clock Eastern, you have Utah at Arizona State in what I affectionately call the Horseshoe West, the Sun Devil Stadium. That it would be number 17 Utah versus number 14 Arizona State. Zona in Todd Graham is a 6-point favorite. Carla, how do you see this one going?
So
Not that you'll actually see it because you're going to be asleep before the first quarter's over.
Well, no, I might not be actually because I'm joining the Athlon crew going to Atlanta this weekend to go see what they're doing with the talkback stuff. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll actually probably be down watching the game with James Franklin, not the Penn State coach, but the former Missouri quarterback.
Okay.
Because they're doing the Kentucky-Missouri game. So
nice.
So he'll be there. So I'm guessing I'll probably be hanging out with them. So maybe that's why I'm wearing black and yellow today. I don't know.
That could be.
I gotta come up with some reason right now. I don't know. So back to the game at hand. This was the game that I was talking about. Yes, you're still wearing your Ohio State stuff. I know. You can rub that in for the next year. You got the win. The game at hand. Yes.
Yes.
So this is the game that I was talking about where there's a team that actually has a worse loss than Ohio State, and that team is Utah because their loss is to a really bad Washington State team.
Okay, yeah, that might actually be worse. That might actually be worse. I would argue that Ohio State's bad loss is going to be more significant than Utah's bad loss, because that's Ohio State's in a position where it has a legit shot at making to the 4-team playoff, but at this point, with the loss, with the tough game last weekend, the Ohio State's going to have to beat Michigan State by like 30 at night on the road to have any consideration, and then win out on top of that. So
yeah. But couldn't you say the same thing for Utah? I mean, Utah,
I'm not sure the starting points are the same, but yeah. So the situations are similar, no question.
There's a perception problem with Utah.
Yes.
Because people don't realize, like, we forget that they're in the Pac-12. Honestly, because we're so used to them being.
Shit, they're the Pac-12, really?
Yeah, this is a conference game. Who knew? No, Utah's loss to Washington State, Wazoo, as they're affectionately known. It's the Pac-12 cannibalizing itself, right? And we have the potential for that to happen again this weekend, because. I definitely, looking at these two teams, I definitely like Arizona State in this game. I still think that Arizona State, even though, they just got Taylor Kelly back, and he wasn't great last week in his win, but they won the game. I still think Arizona State has the best shot of running up to what will be, we're talking about rivalry games, right? This matchup coming up down the line between Arizona State and Arizona is going to be epic. If these two teams keep winning.
Two of my favorite coaches ever.
Yes, yes, they are. So you would prefer for the stadium to implode, I think, than either of those teams winning. Which game is worse, Arizona State, or Notre Dame, Michigan?
Oh, by far Notre Dame, Michigan. I don't like Rich Rod and I don't like Ty Graham, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is another week where it's almost a de facto elimination game in the Pac-12 South, where everybody could possibly win except for Colorado. And I think.
And they don't care.
No, Colorado's out. Sorry,
yes.
You're done. But the other 5 teams in the conference all still have a shot at winning this thing. In the Pac-12 South, and I think I have more confidence in Todd Graham right now than I do in Ty Willingham. But it would not shock me. Again, I said this last week, that this is well, I picked USC because this is a game that USC should lose to the win. I think this is a game that Utah should probably win, which means that they will probably lose. I have more faith right now in the offense at Arizona State, even with a quarterback coming back from an injury. I've got more faith in the Sun Devils right now, so I'm going to lean Sun Devils. But this has potential to, again, as all Pac-12 games seem to be, and Arizona State has been known to win on Hail Marys, this has the potential to be another entertaining game if you can stay awake, and, well, you will be able to stay awake. So,
I will be awake when we get home. I'm going to be unpacking the car, and then I'm going to be going to bed. So how much time I actually get to spend with this game, I'm not sure. I paid attention because we talked about him last week. I paid attention to the highlights of Utah's win over Southern Cal last week. And,
that's good because I fell asleep.
Highlights.
Okay.
Please note. I was in the car coming back to Pittsburgh from State College. I didn't see an actual live minute of the game.
I turned it on and I was like out immediately.
Damn. I was impressed with what I saw actually, and we talked about this last week. The Utah's what Utah was able to do at the end of the game. And that was, and this is an interesting thing that I didn't realize in the context of last week. Utah is undefeated on the road. And I know Sun Devil Stadium I've been there once for a bowl game, and I understand that it's a decent home field crowd. But I kind of like Utah in this situation, for the fact that they are undefeated on the road. And I will say this up front. You mentioned the thing about the coaches before. I am by no means a Pitt fan, but gosh, I don't like Todd Graham. I just there's something about him that just rubs me the wrong way completely. So that may have something to do with my pick here. But I think this is a win for Utah. They continue their road win streak and continue the kind of impressive performance. Although they had to kind of turn it on late against Southern Cal last week, but continue that kind of performance and pick up a win in Phoenix this weekend. You have a pick for me, a game for me. What is that going to be?
I do, and I want to talk about another game too, but
okay.
The game I'm going to throw at you is a Pac-12 game.
Oh God. Okay.
But it's because it's been an entertaining matchup for the last couple of seasons. I want to hear what you have to think about Stanford going on the road to Oregon.
I would have included this in the games that we were picking, had it been at Stanford. Oregon seems to have recovered nicely from their bobbles earlier in the season. And I know Stanford is a team in the conference that gives the Ducks the most difficult time. I don't see the same kind of consistency from Stanford from the tree as I have in the last couple of years. I might pick this differently if it was at Stanford, but because it's at Oregon, I'm going with the Ducks.
I am totally with you on this one.
Okay.
I think Stanford is a team that's on the brink of completely falling apart, which is disappointing. Because Stanford has been in the last several years has been historically, and like you said, the history with this rivalry. It really is a rivalry now.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone expects this to be the deciding factor in the Pac-12 North, and it's just not. Oregon's figured itself out. It seems, at least on paper, it seems, last couple of weeks that they've been playing well enough to win games. Mm-hmm. Stanford's been up and down. I'm with you. I think this is a win for win for Oregon, especially at home. So the other game that I was going to throw at you, and this was a game that I had circled on my calendar.
Okay.
Blind person didn't make this my pick.
Okay.
I circled this on the calendar at the beginning of the season, and now it's proving to be irrelevant. But there was a potential mid-major team, it's not Robert Morris, that actually at the beginning of the season we thought could potentially disrupt this entire playoff system.
Okay.
And that is BYU.
Yeah, okay.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee, to play my Blue Raiders at Middle Tennessee State. At the beginning of the season, I had this game circled that I was not going to miss this game, and I was going to go. Well, now I'm going to Atlanta, so that tells you what I think about this game. Although I will say the student body is totally fired up for this game. They're going to do some stunts in the stands that are going to be incredible.
Okay.
Because I follow all of them on Twitter now because I work there.
Sure.
But BYU 4-4.
Mm-hmm.
And Middle sitting at second place in the division in Conference USA. Any thoughts at all? I don't know a lot about this game either, but other than I've got two students playing in it.
Go those guys. Go Middle Tennessee State.
Go Blue Raiders.
No, in this case, I would love to see an upset, and I don't care one way or the other about BYU. So that would definitely be something that I would be behind. Without knowing anything about the teams, yes.
I'm kind of with you. I don't know a lot about them. I know BYU is missing their his name is escaping me. I know they're missing a very important piece of their team, who's out with injury.
Football throwing guy is
maybe or running back. I don't know if it's a quarterback or a running back. I can't remember, but it's the key to BYU's offense, and that's why they're 4-4.
No,
his name is gone.
Okay.
It's almost 10 o'clock Central. Okay, and I top 3 classes. They cut me some slack. Really? I shouldn't have.
It's fine. It's fine.
Go Blue Raiders.
We both go Blue Raiders. We both took like 15 minutes to prepare for this week's show. So these things are going to happen.
For the entire show, first time ever, no notes.
These things are going to happen. And Carla, I would say that I'm proud of you for tackling your show just strictly by memory. I would like to think I can do that, but I still have to write down rankings and odds and stuff. So I have to
keep us on track because I derail us all the time.
Yeah, I suppose to the degree that we keep on track ever.
As we're at the 30-minute mark at this point?
Something like that. I don't know. I would have to look. We will find out here shortly. Guys, we really appreciate you sticking with us for however long it has been that we've been talking. And Carla, thank you very much for the show once again. Gosh, we'll try to be more organized next week. Really, we'll try.
It's more fun when we're not, though.
Yeah, that's undeniable. That is undeniable. But now we've been through 5 games actually, and it's time for bed. So, thank you guys for watching. Carla, thank you for joining us once again.
Thanks as always. Have a safe trip to Columbus.
Absolutely, we will. Fun in Atlanta. To all the F1 folks, we said hi. And guys, we will see you back here next week. Have a good night.
See you later.